Coming up, are you finding it challenging to reclaim your health after the age of 30? No matter what you do, no matter what you try, no matter what workout, what diet, no matter what, it don't seem to be working like it used to. You used to be shredded to the bone in high school and college. Now you got a little bit of a plump, you got a little bit of pudjo, and you want to get rid of it. Has it been hard for you to find consistency, to get into a rhythm, to get into a routine that not just gets you the results you're looking for, but it also allows you to sustain it forever? Believe it or not, I've had my struggles with it too. And we're going to learn all that and more coming up on the Third Quarter Podcast. Welcome to the Third Quarter Podcast. I am your host, Ace Boogaloo, Ace Bone Cone, AC, 3C, AC, Thor. Holla at your boy, you know I'm blessed by the best. And we back with another episode of the Third Quarter Podcast. I'm so grateful and blessed to be able to have this opportunity to share any type of insight, information, expertise I may have, experiences, to be able to help you along on your journey. And but before we get into the episode, I want to express my gratitude to the ones that have reached out to share their good thoughts, their words of encouragement, their prayers for this podcast. This is something that's new, something that I'm definitely enjoying, and something that I believe is going to add a lot of value to a lot of people. But like I always say, it's my responsibility to create and to distribute, but the reach that it goes to is really kind of in your hands. So the fact that you guys have been sharing it, you've been liking it, you've been leaving comments and reviews, it's been amazing. And also with that being said, if you haven't subscribed to the pod, it would mean a lot to me if you do that. As well, if you could leave a kind comment. All negativity, you will be erased and blocked forever. But we do accept constructive criticism, and all kind words would be welcomed as well. So this episode is a fun one. It's all about reclaiming your health after the age of 30. Now, I want to preface this by saying, if you're not 30, if you're under 30, if you're in your 20s, you can get something from this episode too, because one of the reasons why I struggled with reclaiming my health in my 30s was due to principles and belief systems and things that I failed to learn and implement in my 20s. So even if you're not in your 30s and above, you can learn what not to do to prevent you from going through what a lot of us have gone through in our 30s and above. Okay. For those of you that don't know, and you should know by now if you listen to the first episode, I've been in the fitness industry in one way or another pretty much all my life, whether it's playing sports as a youth or after my basketball career came to an end. I became a personal trainer around 2010 and 2011. Was a fitness model, got into acting, and then I eventually moved to California in 2015, and I started a fitness company around 2018, but I was back in fitness full-time around 2016. And so I've been involved in fitness for a while. I've helped and coached hundreds of people. It's been a blessing to be able to be a part of people's stories and journey. However, through all of this weaving in and out of fitness in my 20s and in my 30s, I've had my own interesting relationship with health and wellness. And I do believe that health and wellness is probably the most important thing you can have outside of your relationship with God. My health is by far the most important thing that I have, because if I'm not as healthy as I possibly can be, I'm only going to be as effective as I can based on the level of health that I have. And I'm going to go into the struggles that I had in my relationship with health and wellness. And before I go into that, my hope for this episode is that your heart is open, your mind is open, your spirit is open to possibly learn something that maybe you didn't know, or maybe also possibly shed something that is no longer serving you. There's going to be a lot of information in this episode. There's going to be a lot of experience and things that I'm going to be giving you here. So everything may not be for you, but I guarantee you there's going to be at least one thing that is. So I want to paint a picture of how I got to where I'm at right now. So I'll be 37 years old in about 8 weeks in April. And at the time of this recording, we're in, mid-February. And I am probably in the best shape that I've been in since my late 20s. I'm the lowest I've weighed in 10 years for sure. But not just aesthetically, I'm in the best shape I've been in about 10 years. My cognitive function, my optimal level, I guess you can say, is at an all-time high. And a lot of that has to do with principles and things that I've implemented within the last year. But I didn't always live this way. And this is also coming from someone that was in the fitness industry, training people, coaching people, been an athlete. And I didn't feel then like I feel now. Aesthetically, I don't look the best in terms of detail and aesthetics. That's still to come. I'm going to get there, and actually probably better than I've ever been, to be honest. But I feel the best I've ever felt, if that makes sense. And I want to assure you for if you're listening to this and you're over the age of 30 and you're in your 40s or your 50s or your 60s or 70s, you can definitely reclaim your health. All right. So I want to start with that. So even if you feel lost, and hopefully in this episode, I can provide some type of direction, some type of guidance that you can take and implement today and start reclaiming your health. Now, I also want to be perfectly clear. This isn't going to change overnight. So just because you make a decision today to reclaim your health, you aren't actually going to tangibly reclaim it for an extended period of time. So if you're listening to this and you're looking for a quick fix in terms of reclaiming your health, that's not here, okay? We don't do quick fixes here. We want long-term sustainability. Now, you can get some short-term benefits from making a decision like reclaiming your health. But in terms of sustainability and longevity, it's going to take a while. So when I stopped playing basketball in around 2011 is when I retired from knee surgeries, 3 knee surgeries. I got into the fitness industry. And when I got into the fitness industry, there was a period of time for about a year, from about 2010-ish to 2011, where I was kind of figuring out what I wanted to do with my life, right? Because in my mind, I thought I was making it to the league. I thought I was going to be on TNT. I already had my draft speech ready. I already had the house I was going to buy my mama. I had the car I was going to buy my dad. I had all my nephew's tuition in an envelope. I was going to take care of my brothers, like my homeboys. Like everybody was about to eat. I had all the speeches ready. I'm still, waiting to deliver those speeches at some point. But in my mind, I was going to make it to the NBA. And obviously I did not. And there was a period where I was trying to figure out, okay, what's next for me? Because I spent half my life thinking and believing that I was going to make it to the NBA. And so what I decided to do, I was at a point in my life where I could afford to take some time and reevaluate some things and kind of see, where am I supposed to go? So I started going to this gym in the Metro Detroit area, and I ended up working there. And I was about 22, maybe 23 at the time. And I wasn't a trainer. I was doing front desk. So I was scanning people in and, cleaning stuff, working part-time. And in my hours where I had my break, that's when I would work out. Now, the time when I stopped playing basketball to the time where I started going to the gym, I completely changed how I trained. So when I was playing ball, everything was basketball specific. So I really didn't lift a lot of weights. It was a lot of calisthenics, a lot of pull-ups, push-ups, dips, sit-ups, sprints, long mile runs, balance, stability work, and just doing drills and playing 5-on-5 up and down the court. But now I'm starting to lift weights. I'm starting to build size. I'm starting to build muscle, right? I go from cross training to more bodybuilding, one body part a day type of deal. And so I'm adding some size. Now, naturally, I was always lean, but I have long arms. So it's harder for me to put on muscle mass. So I really got to lift heavy and lift often and eat a lot of calories for me to, put on some size. But that's where I was at that time. So as I'm working out on my own, some of the members were coming up to me because I would have the gym shirt on. I used to work at Fitness 19. And, they would ask me, say, hey, are you a trainer? And I would say, no, I'm just, working out on my break. And she'd say, because I'm looking for a trainer, and I just assumed that you were based on how you were working out and everything like that. I said, no, but I can show you, or I can refer you to a trainer that's here. So as time was going on, this would happen every week. People were coming up to me asking if I was the trainer. And one day, the manager of the gym, his name was Ben. There was two, Ben and Anthony. And they had a meeting with me, and they were very open and honest. And they said, hey, man, I just want you to know that you're leaving a lot of money on the table. And I said, what do you mean? They said, well, we're getting a lot of people asking if you're a trainer, and we have to tell them no. And, we believe that if you were to be a trainer here, not only would you add a lot of value to the gym, but you would bring in pretty decent amount of money for yourself. So that piqued my interest a little bit, obviously. And so I went and got certified, and I became a trainer. Now, I also want to preface this. Fitness at the time of 2011 to about 2015, 16 was at a very interesting point in society, because with the social media boom, especially Instagram, influencers started to really become a thing. And when everybody started posting about their workouts, whether it was pictures of what they were eating or videos of the workouts, whatever, the fitness industry went through a huge spike where everyone was working out. Everyone was filming their workouts. You had, fitness brands and clothing brands that were on the rise. You had protein powders and all these supplements that were in everyone's faces. So when I really got into fitness, I was entering into a boom. And so the era that I was in was the eat every 2.5, 3 hours. You need this protein, you need this creatine, you need this supplement. Dude, I promise you, there was a point where I was taking 30 pills a day. Now, I also want to be clear. I'm 100% natural. I've always been natural. I've never taken, steroids or anything like that. But I pushed the limit as far natural as I possibly could, right? But the reason I'm making this episode and the reason I'm painting this picture, because if I could be completely honest, what I slowly realized as time went on, my 20s and my 30s, is that the fitness industry is really full of shit, okay? Because it's an industry that's preying on people not to self-educate. And often the industry, in terms of the consumer base, majority of the people that are in that space, clients and people who join gyms and, who hire trainers, more times than not, they're looking for a quick fix to a long-term problem. And that's just money to the ears of, the marketplace. So products are coming out, types of workouts, diets are coming out, and they're promising people the result that they're looking for in a short period of time. And so all this is going on, and I'm working out, I'm training people, I'm getting bigger, I'm getting stronger, I'm getting lean. I was probably single digit body fat, but man, I was looking good. Okay. Now, also at this time, I'm contemplating moving. Okay. So I'm living in Metro Detroit right now, and I'm contemplating moving to either Los Angeles or New York. And the only reason why I moved to New York is because two of my best friends were already there in Brooklyn. And I was like, you know what? Entourage is my favorite show. How to Make It in America is my favorite show. We're about to recreate this, right? So I sold my car. I took a one-way train ticket to New York, and I moved to Brooklyn. Now, right before I moved to Brooklyn, there was this guy that I was following on Instagram and on YouTube. His name was Greg Plitt, who's no longer with us, but he was the number one fitness model in the world. He was like on 500 magazine covers, and he was just the man, right? And at that time when basketball was not really going to work out for me, and that period where I picked up fitness in a new way, I came across his videos, and he was really speaking to me. The way that he talked, what he talked about, his delivery, the way he looked was very similar to me. We had similar body types. And so I kind of wanted to do what he was doing. And so right before I moved to New York, I found out who his agent and what agency, he was signed under. And I reached out, I sent pictures, and then they said, yeah, we'll sign you right now. Now, I'm living in Michigan right now. So I packed up and sold my car and moved to Brooklyn on a whim. And as soon as I get to Brooklyn, the very next day I have a meeting that it was called Silver Model Management. They're no longer in business right now. But at the time, they were the number one fitness modeling agency in the world, basically, because at that time, you had fashion models and you had fitness models. There were two different brackets, right? Now they're kind of all combined, but fitness modeling was not really profitable at the time because you couldn't use fitness models on runways, because when runway models are modeling clothing, they're normally modeling clothing that are prototypes. And so they only make specific sizes. So bigger dudes are not going to be able to fit these suits or these clothings for fashion models. So fitness modeling was literally just fitness stuff. You were doing ab stuff on the beach for supplements or movies that involve some type of physicality. That's all you did, right? So I got signed, and I was living in New York for almost a year, doing the whole modeling and acting thing. And then I came back to Michigan. And the reason why I'm painting this picture is because this entire time that I am in the fitness industry to the capacity that I'm in, I'm also trying to find who I am. Okay, this is very important. When I gave up basketball and it ended not on my own terms, I took that very personal. And when I took it personal and I didn't get the healing that I needed, I transferred the passion that I had for basketball, that unfulfilled destiny that I had, and I brought that into fitness. So my identity and who I was in the basketball. Now my identity is in my body, right? I want to look as good as I can, as shredded as I can, as muscular as I can, so I can get work, right? Whether it's training people because they want to look like me, or booking work for modeling and acting because I'm ready to go, I'm in shape. So my relationship with health and wellness was purely based on how I looked or how I performed. So originally it was based on how I performed at the basketball court. Now it's based on how I look aesthetically. So my eating, I was eating vegetables dry. I was eating plain white rice. I was eating baked chicken. Like, I was eating so basic because that's the information that I had. That's what I thought I had to do. I'm eating every 2.5, 3 hours. I'm working out in the morning. I'm doing a night workout. I'm working out every single day. I'm not really drinking. I'm not doing any, I was obsessed with the way that I looked because my value and who I was in my body. So if this is my identity, then I have to take care of it. So fast forward 2015, I'm working out and I'm at the point where now I'm back in Michigan and I'm getting ready to move to California. So this is around December of 2014, coming into 2015. I'm moving to California in June. Okay. I'm working out in the gym, and I'm kind of in this place where I'm like, I'm working out because I've always worked out, but I don't really want to work out. Like, I'm kind of over it, because I'm still trying to find myself, right? And the gym is not giving me what it used to give me. And so I remember I'm doing I'm doing a mid row for my back, and I load the weight heavier than I normally would do. And what ends up happening is I end up overextending, and then I have a double hernia, and I pop my hernia. I pop both sides of my core. And so I go see a surgeon because my stomach is on fire. And she tells me, you have two options. We can do the surgery. Now, at the time, I was against it because I've already had 3 knee surgeries, and I had my nose broken in 2 places. And what a lot of people didn't know is there was a point in my early 20s where they thought I had stomach cancer. So I've had procedures for my stomach as well. And so I was over the idea of doing any type of surgery. So she said, or the second option would be you could take some time off from the gym. 3 months. I said, done. I'm over it anyway. I need a break. So 3 months turned into like 6. Okay. Like, I was making up for lost time. I was eating whatever I wanted. I wasn't working out because I couldn't. So now I had an excuse why I didn't work out. I had a legitimate excuse, like doctor's orders. So I'm waking up whenever I wanted. I'm eating whatever I want. Cheez-Its in the morning, Cheez-Its in the omelet, chili cheese fries on the drink. I'm eating whatever I want, right? And I gained probably 30 pounds in that 5 to 6 month period right before I moved to California. I moved to California, lose the weight, put the weight back on, lose the weight, put the weight back on. And this whole dance goes on from 2015 all the way to 2023. Okay, so like 8 years I was yo-yoing around. And I said all of this, right? Because this is not about me. This is about you, okay? But I want to paint the picture so you can trust what I'm giving you. Okay, this podcast is not about me telling you what to do. It's me sharing based on my experiences, things that I've learned that you could apply for you. But I had to give you the picture, okay? So 8 years of this yo-yo, I'm 36 years old. I'm coming into my own. My whole life is different, right? I'm not in fitness anymore for the most part. I'm speaking all over the country. My social media is just insane. Like, I didn't even, and that's a whole nother episode is how my social media became what it became and where it's at. But in 3 years, when COVID hit when COVID hit in 2020, my social media went crazy, and I have I have millions of followers on all social media platforms. My content has been seen 400 million times or whatever the metrics are. Like, my life now isn't the same as it was 10 years ago in terms of just what's going on and who I am as a man. But there was always one thing that was always constant, and that was the inconsistency of my health and wellness. And so it got to the point where I remember God telling me this. He said that if you're going to be the leader that I called you to be, you're going to have to be able to lead yourself first. And I knew that it had to start with my health and my wellness. And it was at that moment I realized that even though I was always super fit in my 20s, I was also never healthy. And I think we as people don't discern the difference between the two. That because you look good, that also is an indicator that you're healthy, when that's not the case. Because even though when I was a fitness model and I was doing all the things I was doing, I looked fit, but I was not healthy, man. Because if I was truly healthy, when I had that break for 90 days, it just would have been 90 days. My relationship with food was terrible because food was always like just a job. I had to eat this way to look this way. And I was depriving myself of one of the greatest luxuries that food offers, which is fun, community, being able to enjoy good food and not just look at food as, numbers on a scale for you to look a certain way. And so when I had that break, I was exploring all the luxuries. I was like, you want pizza? Sure. You want pasta? Sure. You want pasta on your pizza? Sure. Like I was just making up for lost time. And so I never had a healthy relationship with food. And so I had to make a decision. And this is where you come in. If you want to reclaim your health in your 30s and you have been trying everything and doing everything, okay? The first thing you have to do is you have to make a decision. Enough is enough. Okay? So this is my story, and then you have your story. You may not be able to relate to anything that I said for the last 20 minutes about where I was and how I got to this point, right? And this point that I'm talking about is last year, I was weighing the heaviest I've ever weighed, which was 265 pounds. Now, to paint the picture, when I was modeling in New York, I was about 200. So we're talking, I was 65 pounds over what I normally would walk around. Okay? So last year, this time, I was 265. Now, recording this pod, I'm 222. Okay? The weight that I believe is probably best for me to be is between the 205 to 210 mark. So my goal on my 37th birthday, which is April 17th, shout out to the Aries, is to clock in at 205. That's the goal. Okay? And I believe I'm going to get there. I'm actually ahead of schedule right now. But I had to make a decision. If I want to be who God has called me to be, and I want to be a leader, and I want to influence, I want to impact, I want to entertain, I want my platform to expand, I want to be the one in my family, I want to be able to break the generational curses and financial freedom and wealth and build and with my future wife, my future kids, and to have a legacy that withstands all time, right? To be able to do what I want, whenever I want, wherever I want, with whomever I want, however I want. It starts with my health. I have to make being the healthiest I can be number one priority, but I have to understand that there's a difference between being fit and being healthy. So when I made the decision to focus on health, the second thing I had to do is I had to be honest about where I am. I had to be honest about my current situation. Where am I? So you may be in a situation where you're like, yo, I need to lose weight, Ace. I need to drop 50 pounds. I need to drop 100 pounds. I'm like, cool, I'm with you. And you'll get there, but you're not going to get there today. And one of the things that people struggle with is they overestimate what they can do in a short period of time, and they underestimate what they can do in an extended period of time. The reason why I'm having so much success in reclaiming my health at now almost 37 years old is because I value the long game more than the short game now. Because I understand that if I value the long game, everything I want in the short game is going to come automatically. Oh, see, you didn't catch that. See, now we're at the part where I start dropping gems on you, okay? This is when I start dropping the this is when I start doing that, okay? When I get a soundboard, I'm going to start doing that. When you prioritize the long term, everything that you desire in the short term will automatically come to you. And here's the thing. It'll come to you without you trying to get it either. Because one of the biggest mistakes that people make when you're focused on getting the goal immediately, You don't establish foundation, principles, standards, and character. You're trying to build the pool without having a house. Like you want all the extra stuff without actually having a home. The pool's cool. Having a slide is cool. You know, having a full court basketball court outside is cool. But ain't nobody coming there if there's no home. You're inviting people to your home, not to your basketball court, your home. Your body is your home. It's not a place where you sleep. It's your home. And if you want to get spiritual with it, the Holy Spirit resides within my temple, my home, my body. The better I take care of my temple, the better place I give the Spirit to live in. You have no idea how much more clarity, creativity, efficiency you would have if you took care of your health. I promise you. It's mind-blowing. There's a reason why this podcast didn't start until now. And trust me, I've had episodes recorded in the past. I didn't just start doing this. But there's a reason why now I'm launching it, or I've launched it. So when you make the decision that I want to be the best version of myself, and I want to be clear, there's a difference between making a decision and making a choice. A decision means that you're killing off everything else that's not that. A choice means that you're selecting what's the best based off what's given to you. So for an example, if you go to a restaurant and they give you a menu, they're giving you a menu of choices, of options. And based on what you want the most, you're going to select what you want the most. But if you're like me, there's not just one thing I want the most. There's a couple things I want most. But the interesting part about choices is when the waiter or the waitress comes and they take your order, you're like, yo, let me get the steak, medium, you know what I'm saying? Medium rare with the broccolini, the potatoes. Let me get that Caesar salad. Okay, let me get that Caesar, heavy on the Caesar, heavy on the Julius, right? 5 minutes later, they come back and say, hey, I was not aware of this, but we're out of the steak. Is there anything else you would like instead? Absolutely. I think I'll take the pasta. You see, when you make a choice, you also allow yourself to have a plan B. You have other options available. A decision is you go to a restaurant and they give you the menu and you don't look at it. And you ask them, what proteins do you have available? Oh, we got the steak. Okay, I'll take the steak medium. We got vegetables. We got broccolini. So you're not looking at options. You know exactly what you want. There is no other option. Tony Robbins said something a long time ago, and I'm going to assume that he came up with this. I heard it from him, so I'm going to give him credit. Shout out to Tony. But he said something, or I heard him say something a while back that really stuck with me. And he said, if you want to take over the island, you got to burn the boats. And I was like, what the hell does that mean, Tony? But I sat with it. And then I was like, oh, sheesh, I got it now. What it means is, back in the day when they had wars, they didn't drive anywhere. They had to sail. So they beefs lasted a long time because it took them a while to get there. They were like, oh, you talking mess? Okay, I see you. in 3 months. We rowing over there, cuz. We rowing, cuh. We rowing. So they sail and row 90 days. And they got to keep this anger for 3 months. Like, could you imagine having beef with someone and you got to harbor this energy for 3 months? It's like by the time you get halfway, you probably like, man, it ain't even really that big of a deal when you think about it, you know? But they travel all this way by sea. They get to the opposition's land, and then they would burn their boat down. Now, why would they burn their boat down? Well, because it doesn't give them an option to go back. You see, when you burn your boat, 2 things are going to happen. Either you take over the land or you die trying. There is no other way. And so when you're making a decision, essentially what you're doing, you're burning the boat of your old self. Either 2 things is going to happen. Either it's going to work or it's not. And if it don't work, we're going to make it work. But we're not going back to who we used to be. Right? So once you make a decision, then you got to be honest with where you're at. What's your level of commitment like? What's your work schedule like? What's your family like? What's your work-life balance like? What can you honestly commit to right now? And you have to be honest, yo. If you can only commit to twice a week, you have to say twice a week. Don't be like, yo, I'm going 5 times a week at 6 o'clock in the morning. Now I'm going to take a cold shower, and then I'm going to put on wet, cold clothes, and I'm going to walk around in the cold, and then I'm going to eat cold food. And it's like, bro, chill. It ain't that deep. And I'm going to tell you what, the reason why you want to be honest with where you're at and be super honest is because it makes it easier for you to be consistent. Because what most people don't understand is most people are trying to be disciplined first. No, you want to be consistent first, and then you'll become disciplined later. Consistency is the act. Discipline is the evolution. So when you're honest about your current situation, where you are, what's going on around you, what season you're in, right? What's the season of life you're in? You want to get in alignment with the season. So if you have a hectic family life, and as soon as you get off work or whatever it is you do, it's like family, then you're probably in a season where you're going to have to work out earlier in the morning. For an example. So analyze the season that you're in and then be honest with it, and then ask yourself, yo, what can I honestly commit to that I will not fail 7 out of 7 times, Sunday to Sunday, I can commit to this every single time. That's what you do. And then you have to add like an extra 5% to that. Here's what I mean. Anything that's worth an ROI and return on investment, it has to cost you something. So you don't invest in something that's not going to give you a greater ROI than the initial investment. So in order for you to get a greater ROI on reclaiming your health, you're going to have to invest to the point where it's a little bit uncomfortable for you up front. So for example, let's say you say, yo, I can only go to the gym 2 times a week. Cool. But then you say, I'm going to go to the gym 2 times a week, and then I'm going to go on 2 walks in addition to that. So you're putting a little more investment in it, so it makes it worth it more. If everything was easy, it's never going to be worth it. It has to cost you something. You know, when I coach people and I tell them the price of what the investment is, most people are like, oh, that's what you got to understand. It should feel uncomfortable for you to invest in something where the ROI is greater. If it doesn't make you feel a type of way, I don't even care how much money you have. It should still make you feel something. Because the ROI that you're getting is always going to be greater than your initial investment. That's why I'm always telling people there's a difference between investments and expenses. An expense, you don't get a return. You get what you pay for. An investment is you get a greater return, or you should get a greater ROI than the investment. Okay? So when you recognize the season that you're in, then you have to be honest with what you can commit to, and then add an extra 5% of commitment on top of that to make the investment worth it to get a greater ROI. Okay? So the first thing you have to do is you have to make a decision. Burn the boat. What's it going to be? Draw the line in the sand. The second thing you have to do is you have to be honest about where you're at. Where are you? The third thing you have to do is you have to understand, and this is probably the most important thing in all of this, is you have to give yourself time. When I started my health journey at 265, it started January of 2023. February of 2024, I'm 222. So I've lost 43 pounds in a year. Here's the kicker. 30 out of the 42 pounds I've lost started since October of 2023. So from January 2023 to October 2023, I lost 12 pounds. From October 2023 to February 2024, so that 4-month window, more or less, I lost 30 plus. Now, why did it take me 8 months? Why did it take me 10 months to lose 12 and 4 months to lose 30? Because I understood that it was going to take time for me to get healing from my past relationship with food. I was having to relearn myself in this way, what my triggers were, my mindset, my thought processes, all of that stuff. Right? So there were so many things that I was unlearning and unwinding from, that if I was expecting all of this to happen within 3 to 6 months, I would have really overextended myself to the point where it would have been overwhelming, and I probably would have retreated and stopped. And maybe you've gone through that too. Now, I'm not saying your goal is going to take 14 months, 16 months, maybe. But what I am saying is you have to allow yourself time to not just get the result you're looking for, but to become the person that that result wants to be with. Remember, everything that we do is about relationship. Relationship. So if you want to have the body and the health of your dreams after the age of 30, you want to totally reclaim your health, you have to also allow time for your identity to catch up to the body. Because the body's going to body, right? So if you change the way you eat and you increase your activity, your body's going to change. But if your body is changing and you're getting healthier, but your identity hasn't changed to the point where you don't think you deserve it, or whatever label you're putting on yourself, you will sabotage it and go right back to where you used to be. So being healthy is not just about what you're eating and not just about how you're moving. It's also about how you're thinking. It's about your emotional well-being, your spiritual well-being. All of that stuff plays a part. Your stress level, the drama, who's in your life that you have to reposition, who's in your life that you have to remove, right? Who's in your life that you have to put boundaries around. All of that stuff is going to impact the way you look and how you feel. Because you might be someone that you can be on point with your diet, with your training and all that stuff, but you got too much drama in your life. And then when you have too much drama, your stress levels go up. And when your stress levels go up, your emotional security comes down, your judgment comes down, your decision-making comes down. Then you start eating foods that aren't ideal. You miss a day at the gym. It turns into 2 days. It turns into 2 weeks, turns into 2 years. But if you would cut out the drama, reposition or replace some people in your life, maybe you wouldn't have that issue. So another part of reclaiming your health in your 30s is also understanding that diet is not just about what you eat, it's what you consume through all of your senses. Can I get a hallelujah? Praise God. Praise God. Your diet is not just about what you consume through your mouth. That's a piece of it. It's your eyes, it's your ears, it's your touch. It's all of your senses. They all have their own individual diet. And the more that you can get all those senses on point, the easier and smoother this process is going to be. Does that make sense? Now, before I close out this episode, I want to give you a bonus tip. And I really do hope that this has served you. And maybe there's someone or some people in your mind as you're listening to this episode like, yo, they can really use this. I would love it if you would send it to them, because you never know who needs these words of encouragement or information at that specific time. But before I close this episode, I want to make sure I say this, because this has been a game changer for me. Don't wait to lose the weight or get in shape or look better in your clothes or whatever it is that you're trying to do. Don't wait for the end result to happen to then give yourself permission to love yourself. I didn't realize how much I did not love myself because of how I looked and how I felt. Right before Christmas this past Christmas, 2023, my nephew had a Christmas concert at the Detroit Opera House. And at that time, I was like 3 months into my journey. And I was feeling good, you know. And I'm getting dressed and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do something I haven't done in a while. I'm gonna wear a white t-shirt. And I put on the white t-shirt and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna tuck this shirt in. And I tucked it in. And it was I can't remember the last time I wore a white t-shirt. And the reason why was because I didn't like the way I looked in it, because I wasn't fit in my eyes. I didn't like the way my body looked. I was really ashamed of my body. And when I put on the white shirt and when I tucked it in and when I took the picture, I'll put it on my social media too after this episode airs, but when I took the picture, it was that moment that I was like, I just reclaimed it. If you, for 4 years, I would say from 2017, 18 till recently, the majority of the shirts I wore were black. Because in my mind, I didn't like how different colors made my body look. I was too ashamed to wear anything other than black. And so I say that to say, I made the mistake of allowing my displeasure of my appearance to determine the value and the love I gave myself. And even though I don't like that I did that, in a way I'm glad that it happened, because I understand now more than ever, through all my years in the fitness industry coaching people, what my clients felt like when they would ask for help. And I just want to encourage you that when you're on this journey, love yourself at the beginning. And all the flaws, and even through all the changes that you want to make. Don't wait until the changes happen, then be like, damn, I look good. Damn, I look fine. Say it now. Embrace the body now. Wear the clothing now. Because the moment, it's like for those of you that know me, I'm a huge Eminem fan, and I'm always going to find a way to weave him in there somehow. But the ending scene, or towards the end of 8 Mile, when he's in that battle rap with Papa Doc, and Eminem goes first. And throughout that entire movie, right, he's getting played for living in a trailer park, and, the whole thing with his girlfriend, and he's just getting clowned the entire movie. But there's a moment when they flip the coin of who goes first, and Papa Doc chooses Eminem. And then there's a moment, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. There's a moment when the beat is playing and the camera is brilliantly showing them looking at each other. It cuts to Papa Doc, it cuts to Eminem, it cuts to Papa Doc. It cuts back to Eminem. And there's a subtle movement. I don't know if he was told to do it. I really think that Eminem was a very good actor. But there's a subtle movement before he says, "Now everybody from the 313, he does a smirk and he does a sudden jolt with his body. And the reason why I want to highlight that, because it was that moment where he made the decision to reclaim. Because that entire verse that he did in that battle rap was him taking ownership of all of the flaws, shortcomings, bad luck that they were going to use against him in the battle. And so when he put his own stuff out there, and when he said, "Yo, I am white, I am a bum, I do live in a trailer with my mom," when he finished it, there was nothing left for Papa Doc to say. So he quit. When you take ownership of your flaws and you use that as fuel, there's really nothing that can stop you. Because what happens is, if you take ownership, because here's the thing too, I gained 60 pounds over the course of 8 years. I don't have a genetic issue. This was a lifestyle. And so I put myself in the position that I was in, which means I had to put myself in the position to reclaim it. And what I want to give to you is, when you love yourself at the start line, who you're going to end up being at the finish line, you are going to be bulletproof. Because, and I'm going to end with this, you're not going to celebrate the way you look at the end as the justifier that you are who you are. You're going to celebrate what it took to get there, to represent who you are. The way that I look is the icing on the cake. But the decisions that I made along the way, that is who I am. That was me loving myself, not the finished product. It was the decisions that I made that you guys didn't see. So, respect where you're at. Eminem respected. He said, "Yo, they ain't lying, yo." But I'd rather tell my story than for them to tell my story. respect where you're at, honor where you are, but don't accept it. If you respect your current position and you honor your current position, but you don't respect the process, you're going to fall short. But if you respect where you're at, you respect the process, but you don't accept the behaviors anymore, then you're really on the right track. So, if you want to reclaim your health after your 30s, can you do it? Oh, hell yeah. But you got to make a decision. You got to be honest with where you're at. You got to give yourself time. And you got to own where you're at. If you do those things, in due time, you're going to be leaving comments on this pod. You're going to be sending emails and DMs. Ace, look where I'm at, man. Look, I did it. And not only are you going to be celebrating, but this whole community is going to be celebrating with you. I love you so much. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this pod. Share this episode with someone that comes to mind. Leave a review. And always, I am your leader. I am your general. I am Ace. I love you so much. Be safe, be blessed, and remember, this is the Third Quarter Podcast.